Simple summer dress for kids. Helpful tips in layouting, pinning, cutting, and marking. Pattern pieces are usually drafted 1/4 of the bodies. But since we drafted our final pattern in a half, kaya ito yung kabuuan ng front pattern at ito naman yung kabuuan ng back pattern. Together with its facing, so now we can lay out these pattern pieces in a single layer fabric. This is the sample layout in 1 yard 45 width fabric, and this is the sample layout in 60 width fabric. Here are the tips in laying out patterns on the fabric. 1. Spread the material flat on the table or floor. 2. Lay out the patterns on the wrong side of the fabric. 3. Consider the fabric grain. The arrow on the pattern piece indicates the direction of the grain. Lengthwise grain is parallel to the selvage and has least amount of stretch. 4. Place patterns near each other. And 5. Make a trial layout to find out if the material is enough. These are the tips in pinning. Secure the patterns with pins. Do not lift the material or put your hand under it to prevent it from shifting. Just guide the pins through the fabric using the other hand. Place the pins perpendicular to the edge of the pattern. On curved edges, put pins closer. On corners, pins may be placed diagonally. Before cutting, check the material if they are properly pinned. Now we're ready for cutting. So here are the guidelines in cutting the material. Use sharp shears in cutting. Cut first the skirt, fold it, and set it aside. Place one hand on the material opposite the shears. Use long, firm stroke o malaking buka ng gunting to cut the straight edges, and short stroke o maliit na buka ng gunting in cutting the curved edges. Do not lift the fabric while cutting. Walk around the table as you cut without pulling the fabric. Cut exactly on the cutting line, so the fabric will be the same size as the pattern paper. Remember, inaccurate cutting results in a garment being larger or smaller than the measurements. Do not remove the pins. These are needed when transferring construction marks. Ribbon and strap are both 2 pieces, so before cutting, fold the fabric to make it 2 layers and then cut. Now that we already cut the materials, let us transfer the markings on the cloth. Here are some helpful tips in transferring construction marks. 1. Transfer pins on the inner side of the material. 2. Place a ruler along a straight seam line and trace the marking using tailor's chalk. In curved area, I'm using the tip of the ruler and trace it little by little. 3. If you will use carbon paper and tracing wheel, spread out a pattern paper or cardboard under the material to keep the tabletop free from marks. 4. Make sure you are transferring the marks on the wrong side of the fabric. And 5. Move carbon paper on all seam lines and other marks that need to be transferred. I remove the patterns and keep them for future use. Now we're ready for sewing. Please watch the next video on how to assemble this simple summer dress.